this guy say something about that. I haven't been a collector for a long time. I'm over 40, and the Spider-Man thing, I totally quit buying it completely, because for me, I'm different than their target market, but I'm trying to, he's married. I wanted to see him have that kid, because that was what I was going through at the time when they started doing that in the 90s. And when they pulled that out, I mean, I understood, because they're trying to target younger people. But I thought that's what the Ultimate Spider-Man was, or whatever else they come up with. The actual Spider-Man itself, I agree, every creator needs to come in there and make their own face to it. And what tone they want to set with the book. But there's certain truth you have to keep with it. And the fact that he was married to her had been for so long, and it had created this dynamic and this weakness in his character that she was a weak spot to it. That when they pulled that away, it was like not even the same book. Now my son, however, wants to read it, so I buy it for him. So they still got me, but I won't touch it. I won't touch it, But he's 14, so I guess that's his target. I mean, I think that's, especially from the comic book retail, I find that to be very interesting.
Yeah, Brand New Day has been really popular with people who have not read Spider-Man all their life, the people who want to know Spider-Man because they don't want to know the continuity like most of us do. And most people who do read or have read Spider-Man for years and years don't like it because, for me personally, is that there's so many stories. There's some stories that if you read the whole plot, the whole story arc, whatever, was about Mary Jane. And if you take her out, it makes no sense. And I know Joe Q keeps on saying that it's magic and that it all happened, but she's just not there. How did Peter find out about Venom? He kidnapped Mary Jane. So Mary Jane never got kidnapped. So they just ran into each other, I guess, on the street. You know what I mean? So how does that make sense? So that's the whole issue with the magic kind of thing.
The first thing that popped in my mind when that happened was my personal all-time favorite Spider-Man story. I don't know what everybody else's is. My personal all-time favorite was Kraven's Last Hunt, which is that J.M. DeMatteis story. Which, if you haven't read it, I'm sure somebody over there has it. It's worth checking out. Part of his motivation for crawling through that grave and digging himself out of that death trap was because of his love and devotion for Mary Jane, and that was what kind of, even though I enjoyed the Brand New Day stuff, I decided I was gonna give it a fair shake. Even though I enjoyed that was really the first thing that popped through my mind when I read it was, it devalues a little bit the story that, in my mind, is the greatest Spider-Man story.
Well, to me, it still happened.
Right.
It doesn't erase it. It's just,
but
this is the way it is now.
But it did take the heart out of it.
I mean, they're going to go back to it.
Well,
That's probably true.
I mean, if you really think that, if anyone really thinks that they're not going to get back together eventually.
Oh, yeah, no, that's going to happen.
So it's just people. I hate this comic. Well, I got to buy it.
That's another thing. People buy comics that they hate.
I mean, I
understand that.
I have like Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel character. I have the Masterworks have gone through 50 with some originals in between there, here and there, and then I have all the originals up to 300. 300 is the end of my era. I don't really care for that. To me, that's when my era for liking Spider-Man really kind of stopped. Todd McFarlane and everything. I mean, I know he really made it popular, but that's kind of when it ends for me.
Yeah.
But I still read it occasionally. And I forgot where I was going with that.
the thing with Brand New Day is that what they did with it, they made it very accessible to lots of people. And if it wasn't Spider-Man, if it was some other character and they kind of made these fun little story arcs that keep happening, it would be a great selling book. The only reason why it's trouble for all of us is that it's Spider-Man. And that we know, okay, so he's living back with his Aunt May, okay, now he has all these other characters, what's going on? If it was some other character that didn't have all this continuity behind him, it'd be fun, we'd all be probably enjoying and picking it up. But since it's Spider-Man, we all have the, that stigma of it. So as a retailer, we sell a lot of Amazing Spider-Man, and in fact, it's gotten even more popular since One More Day. that is one of the biggest selling books at our store probably. But it's for new people. Like you said, comic book guys and women buy it for their kids, mostly. That's what we get a lot of. Because it is very kid friendly. So I mean it is a good thing that, you know, kids can start reading Spider-Man. But like you said, it takes the heart out of a lot of stuff. Because now he just dug through the grave because he wanted to get out.
And you know, to kind of hit on what Scorpio said, I mean, I guess my opinion is I mean, I can still read, like I've got that in hardcover. I can read that in hardcover and still enjoy the heck out of it. It was really just that one kind of flash moment in time thing as I read, you know, One More Day in real time. It affected me. But, you know, as far as me going back and reading that story, I completely agree with Scorpio. I mean, I can read stuff now that's out of continuity and still enjoy it because they're some of my favorite stories, and I enjoy the story of the characters and stuff like that. It's that kind of that one moment in time thing, you know, kind of like, geez. And then,
well, I want to, speaking of Spider-Man continuity, I mean, I want to know how many people accept this continuity that Peter Parker was molested as a child. I mean, it was printed, you know, it's in that giveaway. But does anyone? I mean, to me, I like that because it's one reason. Like he had problems with girls, you know.
Which area was this in?
It was in the 1980s. It was a giveaway, child abuse giveaway.
Oh.
And it said.
Well, see, those kind of things though, they always kind of stand so alone from the actual run of the book that makes it.
So is it continuity has to do with being within its own title? Is that what the problem?
I never heard of that, honestly.
No, it's not. I think continuity goes deeper than that. An event can happen, like maybe that's there, right? But continuity, to me, would mean that you would take that event and then build on it and reference it as in the future. And another good example is the Spider-Man baby that just appeared.
Yeah, that one hurts me.
So yeah, I'm actually fine with that. I don't want Peter Parker to be dead.
Yeah,
well,
I think it's definitely how old you were. I mean,
yeah.
You know, they were trying. I remember at the time there was this Wizard or something like that. They're saying, well, the idea was they thought they were getting them too grown up, and their target market is still these teenagers. And here I am, 30-something, buying the comic book. I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'm stuck with that. But I mean, I'm not so sure. I mean, that's what like I said earlier, I thought that was what the idea of those other books were, like Ultimate Spider-Man, to restart something.
Mm-hmm. Or Spider-Girl.
Yeah, because I wanted to see what would happen with that. I mean, the character's got to grow over time for me to be interested in it. If I'm going to be getting older, he needs to. I mean, I know they don't change in their age, but maybe their life situation. He shouldn't be trying to fight for a buck like he used to, because he should be a little more established. But then again, somebody my son's age, it's gonna appeal to him to see Peter Parker like he used to, like I grew up with him. And
well, he's supposed to be like a sad sack, you know. He feels like he's a loser.
Yeah, he was a supermodel.
How much of
character,
I mean, how much of a loser can be if your wife is a supermodel and you're a photographer? Yeah. All you have to do is take pictures of your wife and make money. You know, he's not going to be so down on himself.
But Bogart the idea here, but the deal with the Civil War, when they made him express his actual identity, and then they just dropped it, and once again I was like, well, play with that for a while instead of.
And I agree with you there.
Instead of going just, you know, and the child was the same thing. It's like some creator came in there and said a good idea here, and then somebody else came in there and said, wait a second, we can't have him have a kid, and so then they wash it away, and you know, kind of goes under the currents, and somewhere out in the misty